For Lost and Found episode number 4, my pick is Hunter Killer, now streaming on Netflix, that stars Gerard, Butler, and Gary Oldman. It's a movie about an untested American submarine captain that teams with a US Navy SEAL team to rescue a Russian president that's gotten kidnapped by a rogue general in order to stop this Russian apocalypse, i.e. very Tom Clancy.
That's a warship.
Fire! Brace for impact!
Pop Tot, what did you think of this movie?
I almost cursed you for picking this movie because those that don't know, I am a veteran of this country's submarine service, or also quote-unquote bubblehead, as what we're called in the Navy. So this brings back a lot of memories for me, but it also, I become a huge critic of submarine movies, like Hunt for Red October.
Most things in here don't react too well to bullets.
They take a lot of Hollywood spins on it. In fact, I say one of the most realistic scenes I've ever seen was Down Periscope with Kelsey Grammer.
Make that 2.5 degrees down bubble.
2.5 degrees down bubble, aye.
Maybe 1.5, sir.
Be quiet, Lake, or do it yourself.
I actually like this movie.
Hallelujah! Holy shit!
Yeah, I did too. I liked it way more than I thought I was going to.
I was, and you and I have not discussed this at all in person.
We've never seen this movie either. This is the first one.
I was on the edge of my seat the entire time.
Captain, the roof will fire on you.
No, sir. They'll be firing on you.
And there's one thing you don't want to show a submarine veteran is a submarine blowing up and sinking and bodies floating in the water.
Yeah.
It freaks us out. They show us in Basic Enlisted Submarine School best. They show us footage of we've lost 2 nuclear submarines in our history of nuclear submarines, and that's the Thresher and the Scorpion. And they show you in BESS and Damage Control the Thresher.
Yeah.
Which was lost during sea trials.
As part of a Navy tradition, USS Thresher was never officially decommissioned. Instead, the submarine is said to remain on eternal patrol in the bottom of the ocean, as it never returned to her departure port.
And they show you the hull numbers and stuff on the side, and it's giving me chills now thinking about it. So anyway, I was actually on the edge of my seat the entire time, and it's like 2 movies in one, but somehow it kind of worked. You have Gerard Butler's character, which is Joe Glass.
I assigned her a new one. He's in the region, never been a captain.
Joe Glass.
He's new as a captain. As soon as he gets on the boat, he has to go on this stop the world doom mission. And then you have a SEAL team. I think they're SEAL or they're Delta.
They're SEALs,
They're SEAls. And there was the one actor from Battlestar Galactica. I almost didn't recognize him because he had long hair and a beard.
And the other Navy SEAL was Captain Awesome from Chuck.
It's a pretty man.
Yeah. You're right. It was, wasn't it?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I think the reason I liked it was it reminded me a lot of 90s action movies, but it reminded me a lot of a great value Tom Clancy movie. It very much felt like it. Like you said, you have these 2 kind of running stories that they're trying to get this Russian president. They're trying to create this war. Captain Gerard Butler's character, He's not even just untested. He's completely out of he didn't even go to Annapolis. He's like, even has this kind of lengthy monologue about how he was one of them and all that. That was kind of interesting.
I've worked your jobs. Manned the sonar and the bull nuke. I've cleaned torpedo tubes. If you think I know you better than your previous officers, you're right.
They never said it, but I think they were trying to insinuate that he was a Mustang, what we called prior enlisted officers.
Yeah.
They rose through the ranks and went through some sort of enlisted to officer program.
Let sailors in the area know what opportunities are available to them to go from enlisted status to officer status.
This movie was directed by Donovan Marsh, who looks like he's just done kind of small, maybe independent B movies or whatever, but it seemed like it was handled really well. There was a couple names I saw at one point were attached that I would have been like, oh, that's kind of interesting if they end up doing it. But yeah, the movie had a surprising amount of tension throughout that
it did
kept my attention.
Well, and for me, because even when I was in the Navy in the 90s, the Russian submarine, the Akula class, is nothing to be messed with.
Yeah.
It is the 9/11 of submarines. It's fast, it's quick, it's a dangerous, quiet submarine. So them going up against Akula, that was kind of cool. That I was on the edge of my seat a lot of it, and there's a lot of Hollywood stuff in there, and I'm going to throw this out there. And I actually like the SEAL scenes. They're up in an area that is a true Soviet or Russian style base.
Yeah.
There was enough tension in there to keep me satisfied. I think that besides, a couple Hollywood-esque things about submarines, the only thing I can really bitch about is Gary Oldman was wildly underused.
You have a madman on your hands. I've authorized you to fire.
He had like 3 scenes.
They decided to put Common in a 2-star Admiral outfit, which was kind of hard to swallow, but I can take it.
That's what she said.
You really didn't need 2 flag officers in this movie.
No, and there's a lot of things where it's like doing things for attention or creating drama where people weren't giving information.
You're about 2 stars short of clearance for what I'm about to tell you.
It's like, no, at that point, when you're trying to stop this level of destruction, they're not going to keep information.
Linda Cardellini, she's an amazing actress.
Right.
She's an NSA officer, I guess.
Yeah, she was NSA.
Yeah, so there was like some bits and pieces that she was in there, and I was like, she felt a little underutilized too.
I think he wants our fleets to engage.
What are you saying? He wants an all-out war?
I'm saying that I think it's all choreographed.
A lot of the practical stuff, from what I read, that the entire bridge, or I don't even know what it's called on the boat, but it was built on an actual platform to do the things that they were wanting it to do.
It's called Control.
And that was cool. And the way it was shot was actually surprisingly good, minus the inclusion of CG. There was a lot of CG that looked terrible and underbaked.
And I read about it too, and apparently the Navy, because this was based off of a book, they gave them a team of submariners to be consultants, and they filmed inside a Los Angeles class submarine. Ironically, they used outside shots of the USS Houston, which the USS Houston was used for outside shots for Red October for the Dallas. So it must be like their go-to Hollywood boat.
Yeah. I think the only problem I have, even though it was shot really well, there's a lot of great usage of the lights and Control and all that, is it didn't feel, and maybe you can argue this with me, but I just watched K-19, The Widowmaker, and The Hunt for Red October within the last 6 months. I didn't feel like it really grasped the claustrophobicness of subs. It felt like a lot of the shots were very wide. You had all these characters. There wasn't a lot of close-ups, so it felt like the subs were bigger than they actually are.
Yeah.
And like the Hunt for Red October, it felt so claustrophobic all the time. Or U-571's another good one too.
Come in. Crew's on board and ready to go, sir.
Very well, Captain.
Arizona. Actually, I think I will need 2 whites.
Oh, at least.
One of the parts I was looking forward to is your honest reaction to some of the scenes in the movie. There's a few that kind of stood out to me, and if there's any others you want to add to me to it, but the one scene that readily popped up to me that I was like, I don't know about was, so they basically get into this skirmish that ends up turning into basically an all-out shootout with this Russian sub that had hit in this glacier, and the hunter killer, which is this boat that Gerard Butler and the good guys are on, in quotations, and they basically just shoot right down to the ocean floor. And I'm like, and then they like bank up like it's like a plane, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can't do that.
Coming to hold me, Captain. Right full rudder, right, Captain.
That's a common misconception. Maybe the Akula can do better, but I can honestly tell you at 360 some odd feet, a Los Angeles class does not move that. I mean, they do move fast for a submarine,
right? But
they do not move in that way. And they were doing everything. They're doing red sounding, which is they're basically doing sound bottoming. They're doing radar hits to see how close they are to the ground. They were doing a lot of great verbiage.
Snapshot. Prepare to fire tube 1 on the bearing of enemy contact. Ship ready. Solution ready.
The submarine itself does not move like it's a race car.
Yeah.
You're moving serious tonnage of ship or boat underwater. I'm a little butthurt about him using the sunken Los Angeles class as a decoy and letting the Russian because
Nav, report to bearing in Tampa Bay. We're gonna run straight at her.
Tampa Bay, sir.
If I have to say everything twice, we're not gonna.
there could have been guys in air pockets down there. I don't know. I mean, they didn't hear anything, but it doesn't mean that there couldn't have been guys down there or a rescue effort or trying to salvage those sailors for their loved ones at home. And I get why he did it. It was, and it was obviously part of the plot line so they could use something to get away. But I wasn't happy about that, and I wasn't thrilled about the navigation. And they did this in Hunt for October too, navigating through a very narrow passage.
Yeah. He's leading us into a dead end, Captain. Look at the chart.
Your ability to navigate underwater is in boxes. It's not you can't have 2 feet on either side.
It's funny when you brought up the air pockets thing too, because that was made worse by the fact that they find a Russian captain who's basically renowned in the their naval force, played by Michael Nickfest, and he
bad guy from John Wick.
He actually lived in one of these air pockets, and he basically had like hypothermia, or they were, struggling. So it kind of makes, like you said, that kind of makes that point you made kind of worse, where it's like, what if there was a couple sailors that were still alive? Oh, I guess not anymore.
Have these men treated for hypothermia by the dock. Or keep them placed under guard.
I think they did really well for a Navy movie, but I can honestly tell you, when you're rigged for ultra quiet, you're rigged for red, you're rigged for all these other things, there aren't guys going to be on the mess decks playing cards or in their racks.
Yeah.
Nobody's in their racks. Nobody is. Oh, that was another one. Sorry.
Yeah.
One of the officers or the cobb, the chief of the boat, came in to tell the skipper that they were rigged for dive, and they hadn't even left port yet.
Yeah. I think the other part that kind of was a little goofy to me was Joe Glass was given this mission of basically high utmost importance to figure out what happened. And so they had to recall the sailors. Well, they're basically getting the ship ready, and there's people like goofing around. They're playing video games. They're working out, playing cards. And I'm like, they basically said this was like a high intelligence, need to know, go now mission. And there's guys sitting around playing video games. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, they're actually doing weapons load.
Yeah.
And when you're doing weapons load, that's another maneuver on a boat that, you if you're not in torpedo division or WEPs, you don't necessarily do any of that stuff.
Right.
But you're not sitting there playing video games.
Yeah, that part was a little goofy to me. And overall, as we always do, lost and found. Lost, leave it to these streaming unknowns, or found. Go and find it on whatever streaming service. Where are we putting this one?
I would find it.
Yeah.
I really would. We had talked about this when you picked it. I thought it was ironic because it's one of those, every night I was looking for a movie or something to watch. It was always on top of my list, but I wasn't sure if it would be a movie that Mama Tot would want to watch. So I just kept putting it off, but I'm glad you picked it. It was a good movie. I was on the edge of my seat. I really enjoyed it. And I geeked out, and like I think the first thing I texted you afterwards was like I was cursing you because one of my most reoccurring dreams I have is being on the boat. So I knew I was going to have some dreams about being on the damn boat again.
Yeah, no, I agree. I had a lot more fun watching this. It very much felt, and the reviews are pretty harsh on it. It didn't do well at the box office, but I think in a way it's because it feels very yesteryear. It feels like a 90s Tom Clancy movie where, everything's got high flying acts and all these famous people and superheroes in it. And this is very much, it's a submarine kind of doing this thing, and there's tension built, and you have all this kind of political stuff, and it's not entirely exciting for certain people. I could see that. Honestly, I definitely think you should go and try to check it out if you're into like a Saturday morning action movie.
Yeah, go see it before Netflix takes it off.
Yeah. As usual, please let us know what you guys think of this. Have you seen it? Have you not seen it? Are you going to check it out? And as usual, please leave us suggestions and recommendations. It always helps and helps the algorithm. And we will see you guys on the next one.
Thanks, guys.